I do things. Sometimes. Hi. I do auditions, and occasionally they hire me, which is cool. They don't always hire me. Sometimes I'm just left to my own devices in a little padded room. But that's my closet, where I record a lot nowadays. And yay, pandemic has made it possible for us to record from home. So a lot of the anime you hear nowadays, people are recording sometimes in different cities, definitely in different houses, on different mics. And it's all through the magic and wizardry of the audio engineers who hate this pandemic because it's making their lives really hard. So they're unsung heroes of all this. They're the ones that make it sound amazing. So if you're watching Toonami and everything just sounds like it's on one mic and everything, that's amazing because that's not what's actually happening. But yay technology when it works. Curse technology when it doesn't, right? It's like, this is the greatest thing ever. Stop working. Oh my gosh, I hate my life. But other than that, y'all a chill group. It's real chill. It's a chill con. See, I remember when A-Con used to be held here, and there's like 50,000 people, it felt like. Not nearly that many, but there was a lot of sardines, you know. Everything's crowded, and you had to wait like half an hour in a line to go up the elevator. And then the escalators would get shut off because they couldn't handle the weight, I guess, from all the constant people going on up and down. But this is different. This is like, all right. So I'm liking this. This is a cool vibe. I've been to A-Fest before. It's just been many years. I think I might have just moved to LA back then. And I was coming here. But it used to be at the, what's next door to Reunion Tower. I think it's probably something different now, but AnimeFest used to be held there. Hotel and Intercontinental for a year or two. That was fun. Good times. Who's happy that cons are back? Yeah, yeah. Are y'all going stir crazy during the pandemic? It's like, not only can I not leave the house, I can't see all my friends and go to cons and have fun. That was brutal. It was hard on everybody. I mean, at least I could still do the voice acting thing, but the cons, it's just, I don't get to see anyone. I don't get to travel. But that started up again this summer. I started going. I came down here for KamehaCon, the Dragonball Con. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, I've been to South Texas, Florida, Atlanta, Anime Weekend Atlanta. So it's kind of cool to see life go up back to somewhat normal, depending on where you are, because some places are like, no mask, what pandemic, and everyone's like this in close proximity, and it's like, whoa, well, that's different. I got my vaccination. I don't have a booster. Then again, if you get Omicron, it's like, doesn't matter, you still get it, but you just don't need to go to the hospital. You'll just feel like crap for a couple of days. It's like, okay. So we're going to live with this flu on steroids for the rest of our lives. That sounds fun. But we got the con thing going on, so life is good, right? We're getting back to normal-ish. I'm digging it. Yes? I have not seen personal friends. My wife is immunocompromised, so she's like doubly, triply careful. So she doesn't fly on planes right now anyway. Like we saw family, we took a road trip. Takes longer, but it's a lot cheaper than flying. So we did all that. I didn't see any friends. I've seen some friends / acquaintances / coworkers or colleagues at the conventions, which is neat. It's like, of course, we're all wearing masks unless we're like in the green room or something, the little area where the guests can congregate away from the convention and just kind of catch up. That's what we do. What the guests will do, even if they're from the same city, they almost never see each other unless they're fellow guests at a con. And then they'll just stay in this green room and just socialize and catch up, and then suddenly it's like, oh, hey, you got a panel. You got to get over here. Like, oh, okay. So that's kind of fun to watch that dynamic. And then there's, when you get older and everything starts hurting, then you're like, okay, I can't stay up all night anymore and go crash room parties. I see none of you are old enough to care yet, so, but it's coming. Like, there will be a time when you say, I just want to go to bed. Not this, I was drinking and I crashed at sunup and then I got up for the day at 9. And it's like, no, I can't do that. I don't think I even did that back when I could do that. I would stay up and I would like go to the raves that, Greg Ayers would spin. And it's like, yeah, that's good times. And then like talk with people and walk through the hotel and see like different room parties and everything. Steve Bennett telling his great stories, and it's like, this is fun. This is fun. Never thought. It's like, I'm so old. I just want to go to my room and just play on my phone. Like, oh, TikTok. Oh, puppies. Oh. The pandemic is great for social media. Makes us more and more addicted. That part's not good, but But I guess if you live with your family, everyone's stuck at home, you're kind of forced to talk to one another, unless you all sit at home around the dinner table, all playing on your phones. Yeah, it's like, hey, look at this meme. Now just text it to me, man. AirDrop it, bro. Okay. Yes. Oh, well, the pandemic happened, and, when that shut everything down, Anime Unlocked, which was a streaming platform for a lot of voice actors and artists, and it was really, really cool, unfortunately had to shut down because no one could come into the office, and it just kind of had to go by the wayside. So Dave and Bryce, I think, ended up doing something different. Dave is now working on Streamily, the streaming platform for virtual autograph sessions. So people can watch a live stream and purchase a print, for example, and then that actor or whoever can see on their little dashboard on their desktop, like, oh, you ordered a print, you want me to make it up so-and-so, and you sign it for them on the stream, show it, drop it in the mail. So like that's how an autograph stream works. And so all these different companies popped up. Color World, V something, I forgot their name. But I mean, lots of companies, and they're all doing this thing. Pop Shop Live is a new one that's really fun, where that one actually has an app, like anime thing, but it's like a dealer's room. So there's all these vendors selling different things, Pop Funko figures, Pocky, wall scrolls, statues, all these different things, but it's all online. So you get the notification, you can watch the live stream, purchase something while the host is showing stuff off. It's like, here's this rare Funko Pop, and it's like, I want one, and then you can go and purchase it. Hit the little icon on the thing and just empty your wallet, basically. Bad for you, good for them, right? So yeah, I mean, anime. Yeah, that was a really, really fun experience. I wish for many reasons the pandemic didn't happen, because I think it would have caught on. I think it got more people behind that. But now the streaming thing, again, another side effect, I think, of the pandemic is more and more people going, hey, maybe I can stream too. I can be a YouTuber. I can be a VTuber. I can do all this. And it's like, good luck finding an audience. I certainly can't. It's like, hi, 12 people who show up regularly to my stream. It's tough. It really is tough, but you got to do it because you want to, because it's fun. It's gravy if you happen to monetize that. Can't really do that. I do a podcast now, and I have a lot of fun doing that. It's called the Intergalactic Boombox, and it's just me doing geek news, but I try to make it silly and funny, and I have character voices that I interact with that I also voice. So it's edited to sound like multiple people are in the room. So that's a thing, and you can check that out. That's available everywhere. And my Twitch stream is Gohan with Your Own Bad Self. That's the channel name. And I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays. Not this weekend, obviously, but. And I do a combination. Sometimes I do just games. Sometimes I do multiplayer games. Sometimes I just do AMAs. Now, the last time I did a stream, I actually did something different. I just took some old scripts, opened up my recording program, the free one, Audacity, and I did a stream where I was recording the audition and talking about my acting choices and editing and showing how editing works, all real basic stuff. And a lot of people said, this is really informative, this is cool. So maybe I'll do that some more, you know. Because they have acting workshops. A lot of the Funimation people teach classes and everything. And I'm going to be a part of one of them. Forgot the name. But Brian Massey and some other Funimation voice actors are doing a 4-week class. I'm going to be on the 4th week. So I'm going to be on December 28th. Help critique some students' performances and everything, and just share my perspective from the industry and all that. So that should be fun. Follow me on Twitter, @KyleHebert, if you want more info. I always promote things that are coming up. Yeah. On the Atari 2600. Back in the day, games didn't talk. They were just beeps and boops, and they weren't even 8-bit yet, I don't think. It was just, wow. Atari. Remember, I wanted to get an Atari because I saw that Pac-Man was coming. It looked nothing like Pac-Man in the arcade, but it was Pac-Man, and you could play it at home, so I was excited. The Atari 2600 was $150. And that was like ludicrously expensive. And my parents were just like, oh, it's too expensive. But I got it for Christmas that one year, 1981 or something like that. I was a little kid. And yeah, I remember playing that, Yar's Revenge. I got the world's worst video game of all time, E.T. His neck extends. And other than that, you're supposed to go collect Reese's Pieces and maybe parts of the satellite so you can phone home. Terrible. So bad. Pitfall Harry, yeah. That's a great classic one. Kaboom. It's like Warlords. It's kind of like Pong on steroids. All this classic stuff. And then after the Atari, I think we got the ColecoVision. That's where you could first get Mario stuff. Like Donkey Kong Jr. and all that. And after that came the NES, then the SNES. I totally skipped over the N64 days. And it's like, for some reason, the graphics don't look as good to me. So I missed out on all that. So the next thing I got after an SNES was a PlayStation 1. And then Xbox, the original Xbox. Dreamcast. Sega had all these different failed consoles, including the Dreamcast. But Dreamcast was different because it had a DSL modem built into it. So I couldn't afford a computer back then, but I could get online. So I got the computer, the keyboard, and hooked it up. It's like, oh my gosh, I can surf the net and play games. Playing things like Soul Calibur, Sonic Adventure, a lot of really good ones. House of the Dead 2. That had some god-awful voice acting in it. Yes. Shenmue I never played. I remember they made a big to-do when that first came, and then I ended up voicing on Part 3 here in the past couple years. Big the Cat debuted, and I did eventually voice Big the Cat, not on anything except Sonic DS, or Colors for the DS, and Team Racing. And for Sonic Generations, I think I recorded a whole playable level featuring Big the Cat, and they just cut it. Good news is they paid me. I was looking forward to seeing Big the Cat. Yeah. People found them. There they are. All those people like, how can they scrape all the data like that? Here's all the voice clips, and here's the music tracks, and here it's like. That makes sense, though. They can sit there and just scrape through the different folders, and it's like, aha, here's all the sound clips. I wonder how they were doing that, because I said, here's all the raw sound files from these video games. It's like, here's all my clips from Danganronpa, just one after another. It's like, wow. So when people want me to quote a character, and I don't remember a line of dialogue, I just go on YouTube and totally cheat, because I know the fans will have uploaded something. Sometimes it's the cutscenes from the games, other times it's scenes from the anime, and sometimes just the raw sound files like that. So it's a helpful resource, obviously. It's cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Games were what? Yeah, I mean, House of the Dead 2 was like, suffer like G did. I mean, it's just like people, I think, that are called, what are they called, expatriates or something? They're people that are from America but live abroad. And it doesn't sound, I mean, they speak English, but they're not necessarily trained actors. So, yeah, you can hear some really, really crude things in games through the 90s and maybe the early 2000s, and then they started paying attention. You know, we did the first Dragon Ball games like Budokai and all that, and all we had to do was just the voices from the show. So that was that. But I think the first game I worked on was Blood Rain, or Blood Rain 2, which Blood Rain was played by Laura Bailey, and Chris Sabat's on there. A lot of the DBZ cast are all over that game. So that's kind of cool, even though Blood Rain's completely in its own universe. There are so many games that you can look on YouTube and see examples of terrible voice acting. And it's almost all old games. But now, just like with anime dubs, they make a really concerted effort to try and do the best we can to honor the original translation. And because, you know, the most important element is it a fun game? It's not, the voice acting thing is just one element, and there's all these pieces of the jigsaw puzzle that have to come together. It's like, I don't remember thinking that a game was great when the gameplay was awful, but the voice acting was good. It's like, I'd rather it be a great game where the voice acting sucks, and I'm gonna put it on mute anyway, because I usually, when I'm gaming, I just listen to podcasts. I don't even listen to the actual game. I just casually shoot on Call of Duty. I'm not playing online with friends, so I don't need to hear the voice chat. I'm just like, yeah, my wife's just playing on her iPad, coloring book apps, and I'm just playing my PS4 because you can't find a PS5. And I'm just playing, and we're listening to podcasts together, and I'm like, all right, cool. I bet there's good voice acting in this game. Oh, look, Call of Duty Vanguard, that actually is Laura Bailey. She's the voice of the character, and she's the character model for the character. Like, wow. That's a whole new avenue of voice acting you never thought. Never thought when I was a kid playing Atari that video games would have voices in them, much less be interactive movies like they are nowadays. And now VR and AR and motion capture, you know, for movies and TV, and now so many games. That's why it looks so hyper-realistic, the movements of people's, because that's real people wearing the motion capture, skin-tight suits with the balls of light on them, and they scan that into the computer so it looks like natural movement. The faces are still a little in the uncanny valley, where the eyes are just a little bit off. It's like, But if it's like dark, there's lots of shadows, it's looking creepily real. And then there's that whole deep fake thing. And it's like, and then they can obviously emulate voices with computers. It's like, that's going to cause a lot of trouble. Not only is it going to take work away from actors, but it could be used to incriminate people and as blackmail. Someone could rip your audio from a voicemail and suddenly synthesize it, and suddenly they create a deep fake, blackmail video to use against you, and you didn't do anything. It's like, that's scary. That is a very scary thought. And the technology has gotten so good and cheap and cheaper, that hackers could totally exploit this. And it's like, this is amazing tech, and in the wrong hands, you'd be like, oh, no. But other than that, I think tech is amazing, and I love the advances that they're making with all that stuff. The AI stuff's a little creepy because I don't want our work to go away. It's like, that's our livelihood, that's our job. And you don't want a robot voice anyway. I mean, you can still tell, right? If they tell you up front, it's like, this is automated. This is AI. Like, you listen to Alexa or Siri, it sounds like a person-ish, but it's not totally organic, right? It feels a little stilted. And I'm not sure that technology can ever totally make that sound organic. And I hope they never do, honestly. I want there to be a clear division. I don't want there to be all these, the dystopian sci-fi movies and everything where we're talking about you can't tell who's a robot or an android and a person anymore until their eyes glow and then they zap you with their lasers. And we want normalcy. Then Elon will get us to Mars or something weird, and he can control politicians from there. Good times. So yeah, this is a really free-form sort of panel. You guys can ask any question at any point. I have no form. I have no, I'm just playing off the top of my head here. Yeah. Yeah, I had a PSP. I had a Vita. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was great. Yeah. I still have a Vita. I think I traded in the PSP, but still have the Vita. And I like being able to just play remote play the PS games. It was a little sluggish, a little jittery, but now it's better because you just use an app on your phone and use I have a backbone controller. You put the phone inside, it slides open and then clamps onto the phone, and you hold it like a PS controller. And it works with Android, it works with iPhone, and it's like now you can broadcast your PlayStation to your phone and continue to play Call of Duty. Say all your family wants to watch a football game and you're playing your game. You still can. PS4 is on, it's beaming a signal to your phone, and you continue your game, and it's flawless. If you have a good Wi-Fi system at home, it's pretty sweet. That is a good question because it entirely is up to what the client wants, what they think would work best. We've gotten away from anyone that totally sounds like a 1950s robot all in the same tone. I mean, they've gotten away from that. Obviously with characters like Data on Star Trek The Next Generation, he has a human quality about him. So that just depends. I mean, ultimately, if you think about it, if they synthesize all the voices, they're just paying the programmer instead of having to pay a bunch of actors to do it. So it saves them money. I get why they would want to do it, but then it becomes a moral issue, all right? It's like ethicals. It's like, you want to really just slash our budget, when the gaming industry makes billions more than Hollywood? I mean, and then they hurry up and release things, and then they crash and burn when they're not ready, like Cyberpunk, It's like, it took 8 years. It could have taken it another, and that's fine. You know, it's like, we don't have to keep doing these massive patches to try and fix what's broken and it's too late, you know? It's like, yeah, it had the potential to really be amazing. And I thought it was fun, even though it was broken, but it's like, nah, you guys forced it too early. I've played it, yeah. No, I actually never got into the glitch stuff because I'm a casual gamer, so I don't sit there for hours on end and crank out through the game. And they say when someone complains that a game is short, oh, it's only 8 hours long. To me, that seems like a long game, but apparently it's not. But I don't play for hours on end. I play, you know, an hour-ish, and it's usually just multiplayer with Call of Duty and just stuff you can just get in and get out. I'm not really into RPGs, so watching the story unfold on that, I know that's really big and important. It's my bread and butter. What I do the most is RPG stuff, all the cutscene stuff, building the characters, and that's what resonates with the fans, and thank God. But for me as a gamer, I'm more about instant gratification. I want to shoot something, punch something, platform, just, I want to do something right now. So, yeah. They did drop the ball with Cyberpunk. Even Keanu Reeves couldn't save it. He's still awesome, though. Right? Yeah. And it's not the end of the world that the PS5 is still hard to get because honestly, there's no next-gen titles that I'm really just, I have to have this. Right now, I dropped a little extra money to get the PS5 version included with the PS4 version for like Call of Duty and Avengers and things like that. So when I get a PS5, I've already got a few games. The upgrade one, yeah. Oh. Well, I have the most fun just voice acting just in general because I get to play pretend. But anime, in a way, in one respect, is a more pleasing experience because you see the finished animation right as you're recording it. And a game there's a disconnect. The visuals aren't done yet, so you are in a vacuum. You're just seeing your script in front of you, and you have to rely on the director or the studio liaison who's there to describe what's going on with your character so you understand context. You're like, okay, what am I doing now? All right, here's all your dialogue, and then at the end we're going to do all your fight scenes and fight sounds and all that. So there's a little disconnect, and it's hard to feel as connected. It goes back to that disconnect, but that's why we trust the director to inform our performances. So it doesn't really matter about the genre because acting is acting, and voiceover is just another type of acting. It just strips away any physical thing. You know, it's a very different beast than on stage, playing in a play or on camera, where it's so focused on your looks, you know, where you're looking, the eye line, the eyebrows, the expression on your face. You still do that in voiceover, but, you know, you're not throwing punches for real. You're just making the sound of, you know, do all these different sounds. It's like, all right, now you're throwing a punch. Now you're taking a punch. You know, and you're given like 3 takes in a row. So they have, you know, give me an A, B, and C. And if they don't like that, you do a D, E, and F, and they just keep going. So it's fun, even though it seems like an assembly line sort of thing. But when you work with such a good, supportive community, and it's just, again, it goes back to just having fun, and you're passionate about getting to do something that feeds your soul, you know, even though it may not always put food on the table, because everything just pays ludicrously different. Anime dubs are the hardest kind of voice work to do, yet pays the lowest. It's just always been like a red-haired stepchild of voiceover, and that's unfortunate. Because people that do it and haven't done it before can tell you firsthand, it's like, that's tough. You're listening to the beeps, and then you have to act and pay attention to the mouth flaps. And if you're doing a character voice, you have to just juggle all that. And then, hopefully the take was good and the director moves on, but it may not. You may be sitting there finagling the perfect performance over multiple takes. And hopefully you can bang it out in what typically is a 2-hour session. And so maybe you can knock out a DVD's worth of episodes in a session or two, depending on how talkative your character is. I tend to play a lot of bit part characters, all the background dudes that die instantly, or it's like, sir, yes, sir, and then they're gone. I play a ton of those. So I play more of the bit parts than the big parts. And that's bread and butter too. It's like, hey, we'll bring Kyle in on it. He's got a wide range of voices. So when people say, oh, I have to have 1,000 voices to be a voice actor, that's not true. They will call the people who have 1,000 voices if that's what they're looking for. Other people have 1 or 2. They have their speaking voice, but they're a great actor. They're going to get called in because that's what they're known for. That's why you hear a lot of the same people cast in leading roles. And you say, oh, they just have one voice. Well, it's not about the voice, it's about the acting. So you can hear Steve Bloom, you can hear Yuri Lowenthal, you can hear Bryce Papenbrook, you can hear all these people, the names starting to get more familiar, seeing them in the credits. It's like, oh, well, they give a good performance. They're easy to work with. They're nice. They're kind. They're courteous and professional, and they love what they do, and you can tell. And that translates. And then it goes out into the ether, and the world absorbs it now through the streaming platforms. And we're able to get that instant pulse. You can see what the feedback is instantly on things like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and TikTok nowadays. We're just trying to keep up and breathe each day, and then someone will say, you were great in so-and-so. And I'm like, I'm in what? What is this? Oh, that show on Crunchyroll. I'm a giant robot. Okay. That happens sometimes. I forget what I do. I know that as the actor, it's not my say. I can't really make an informed decision whether it's a good translation or not because I haven't seen the original. I haven't seen the rough translation script. I haven't watched the original episode. There's not enough. They don't pay you to do that. So we show up like a blank slate for our session, and the director tells us what we absolutely need to know to get through our scenes. So once in a while, I mean, if it's a character we've been doing for a while and the line seems a little too formal or something just out of character, yeah, of course, we can just chime in and say, hey, can we alter this? This doesn't sound like something he would say. Like I was saying this in yesterday's panel, how sometimes the scripts in the video games for Dragonball Z, Gohan calls his dad father, but we've traditionally just called him dad. So we changed that, and they're cool about that. But my job as the actor is to give them what they're looking for, even if I think it's wonky, or maybe the line's silly, or maybe it's not the greatest take. I said I would have used the other take, but I'm not in charge. So, yeah, I think it's also important for the viewer or the fans to understand. It's like, oh, this performance was terrible. It's like, well, the actor did what was asked of them. They did their job. Or they put the blame in the actor's corner when it's not about that, like censorship. Years ago with One Piece and the 4Kids dub and all that. It's like, oh, the dub's terrible. It's like, well, the dub's edited. You had lollipops, cigarettes turned to lollipops and all that. But guess what? The Japanese, the clients, they approved those changes. They wanted to get the show on TV. And here in this country, we have the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, and they control broadcast standards, especially for children. And they want to get their shows on to have a wide audience, which includes children. And Cartoon Network, oh, broadcast deal. Yes, let's get it on there. So when they show things like Dragon Ball Z back in the day, it was edited like crazy. You had no idea that that show was so bloody. I didn't until we were redubbing the show uncut. It's like, this show is bloody. This is not a kid show. And it never was a kid show. It's for like the late teens, 20-something crowd. But they, watered it down. And at the time, it's like, well, number one selling VHS, remember that? Number one selling videotapes every month consistently, and then a vocal consistency of fandom would say, you're ruining the show, and I was like, the sales figures say differently. But eventually, I think the two kind of met in the middle. It's like, all right, fans want something faithful. So now we've done a polar shift where you get things that are really, really true to the original adaptation. Of course, everyone's opinion is their own. It's subjective, whether you think the voice fits the character or not. I've never understood the complaint that, oh, the acting's better in Japanese. It's like, do you speak Japanese? Like, well, no. It's like, well, then how do you know it's a better performance? You don't speak the language. I mean, to me, I'm not going to say that the English is superior because I don't speak Japanese. I just choose to watch it in English because that's the language I speak. And I'll read things subtitled, especially live action shows like Squid Game. It's like we watch the dub and so, yeah, it's okay. So it's kind of dubbish. It seems a little over the top. It sounds more natural to hear it in its original thing because the mouth movement is very subtle. Anime is like open, close, open, close, open, close. But the mouth has all these different shapes, right? So if your sentence ends in a but the end of the sentence ends in a T or a L or something, you're going to have to make a concession with that and tweak the line a little bit to make it fit. So that's why people say, how come it says this in the subtitle but it says this in the dub? It's always a technical reason. You have to make it match the amount of flaps there are. And if you guys have noticed that when you watch shows or anime in Japanese, they dub their own shows and they don't even bother matching the lip flap sometimes. But culturally, it doesn't bother them the way it does us. It takes us out. It reminds us that we're watching an old Bruce Lee or a Godzilla movie where they didn't care about lip sync. It's like, that just takes you right out, right? And you're like, unless that's the intention and it's comedy and all that. Kung Pao, Enter the Fist, anybody? There's certain comedies that are going for that vibe, and that's fine. But we probably overdo it and overcompensate to try to make it seem as natural as possible, to do right by the fans and to do right by the studio that made the product, and to get it out there so we can get it out there as soon as possible. And now the streaming platforms are working hard. More and more shows are getting licensed. And that window between waiting for the Japanese and the English dub is shorter, sometimes day and date. That would be the goal for everything. But that's sometimes hard to do because sometimes the animation's not done yet. I was working on Space Dandy. That was like celebrated as one of the earliest broadcast dubs. It debuted in English before it did in Japan, I think, by a day or two or something. And I remember I did an alien-ish character in season 2, but not all the episode animation was done yet. It's cutting to this glorious finished animation to a black and white animatic, like a comic book still, and it looks like just pencil sketch and all that, but it's already recorded in Japanese, so we have to hope that what we say will match the lip sync. And that was unfortunately the case with a lot of cutscenes in Street Fighter 4 and 5. So when you watch those cutscenes and the lip sync's off, like laughably bad, that's not our fault. It's because the animation wasn't done yet, and we had no guide, no reference video to use. So all we could say is, all right, this line takes 0.5 seconds. You have 0.5 seconds to say this line, not 0.6. 0.4 and a half is okay. It's like it's that particular. And the computer and the recording program, Pro Tools, can isolate it that exactly. Hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds, frames. It's all like split down like ludicrously so So you can make those matches and everything. It's pretty interesting, although Pro Tools scares me because it's very complex. I use a recording program called Adobe Audition. That's a monthly subscription for $21 a month. But since voice acting is my job, I'm freelance, it's a tax write-off. So you can say, all right, I'm investing in my craft. That's less money I owe to the government. So that works. But yeah, there's always a free version called Audacity that, you know, if you want to sit there and record yourself and play with editing and all that stuff, knock yourself out, because that's pretty basic. And there's tons of YouTube tutorials to walk you through it. My wife never thought she would understand editing or any of that, and then she's like, oh, this is, oh, okay, it's kind of intuitive. It's like, yeah, once you grasp the concept, like I'm trying to understand Bitcoin now. It's taken me years. I'm only now starting to kind of understand what's going on. But yeah, I think it's more and more necessary as time goes on, technology gets easier and faster and cheaper. I think it behooves us as a society to learn that technology. A lot of people are juggling multiple things. Like people that do voice acting also do video editing, or video editing learns audio production or animation, or people are just trying a little bit of everything. And I think that's good, that people think outside the box and try new things, because you never know. Maybe you'll decide that even though you want to train to be an actor, that you suddenly like brainstorming and improvising, and now you want to write a book. Nothing wrong with that. That's great. Something awesome, a new experience birthed out of a completely unrelated experience. So even if it doesn't work out the way you thought, you still take something positive away from it. So I always encourage people to try things even if it doesn't work out the way you hoped it would, because it's better than regretting or wondering what if. And I saw my dad say that. It's like he used to play his electric guitar, and it's like I always wonder how different his life would have been had he followed the musician path as opposed to becoming a computer programmer. Obviously, being a computer programmer, and he worked for the IT department for the city of Dallas for decades. That's stable. But he was also stressed out. It's a very stressful job. So I say find a job that doesn't stress you out. Find you a job eventually, and it's going to take time, because everything worth having takes time and effort. If it's handed to you, you don't appreciate it. So if you can make, the goal, I think, is to make a living doing something you love. You can just get the bills paid. It's not about having a mansion and driving 4 Teslas or something like that. It's just like, all right, I live comfortably. I'm able to keep the bills paid. Everyone's cool, no one's stressed out, and I love what I do. And it's taken many years to get to that point. And of course we all want more money, we all want to have more things, but realistically, especially now in this environment, we kind of have to adapt. You know, just roll with the punches and see what happens, and then adapt to that. Just like now, if you said in 2019 that we would be wearing masks every day and suddenly the voice acting industry is all recording from home, I would have, it's like, what? What? I mean, for years we've been doing auditions from home, but for the sessions we would go into physical studios. And now some studios are open, and others just long distance direct from home. Like the engineer will be at home, the director will be at home, I'll be at home. I came in town a month or two ago to record on One Piece. I went to Funimation, and the engineer and director were both at home. So I'm in a studio by myself with very explicit instructions that were easy to follow about adjusting my mic, and the script was going to be on this screen and this, that, but I'm by myself. I mean, there were people in the office, obviously running the building, but that was a little weird. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I could have been home for this session. But I was in town, so, yeah. No, Flower Mound. They were still in Flower Mound by the time. I know they've just moved locations now. Was it Coppell or something? I don't know. They're in a different area. They used to be real close to DFW Airport. I'm sure it is. I mean, Sony Television owns Funimation, so they're not hurting for money. They own Crunchyroll too. Yeah, that's right. Monopoly, right? Like Disney owns a lot. Yep. Yeah. My particular mic is a German company called Neumann, and it's one of the industry workhorses. I've seen it in so many studios, the Neumann TLM 103. There are more expensive ones that cost like, 10 grand or more, but an $1,100 version is a lot smaller and I think sounds just as good to my ears. I'm not an audiophile, but a TLM 103 Neumann, and I use an Apollo Twin X from Universal Audio. That's a preamp. I feed the mic in, and it's a USB preamp, runs into my iMac, and I'm running Adobe Audition as the DAW, or recording interface. And my recording space is my closet instead of a recording booth. I've saved thousands of dollars. It's like, what's in your closet? A bunch of acoustic foam? It's like, there's a little acoustic foam, but mostly it's closet stuff, like clothes and pillows and quilts and stuff. Oh, no, no. It's a walk-in closet, so there's enough room. Yeah, if you really want to see how the sausage is made, just think about that. If you're watching, well, let's see. Yeah, One Piece nowadays, and Capone comes online. Yeah, because we're at home, pants are optional. Want to really be disturbing? Yeah, I think I was like, this guy totally sat there in his underwear and delivered this line. Guys, girls, doesn't matter. It's just like we're home. No one's looking. We use Zoom or Skype to see the visual component to it, and we're also recording on our end as a backup, but the engineer's recording on their end too, and we're using an interface like an app called Source Connect. And there's other ones called Session Link Pro. There's all these different things that all do this same thing. They connect digital broadcast quality between two different recording locations. So, and I've had engineers tell me, it's like, honestly, dude, your closet sounds better than other people's booths. It's like, don't tell them that. It's like, how much did you drop? 10 grand? They're called whisper rooms. Sometimes they're full-on booths, but a whisper booth, I mean, you can make it yourself, and, then it's only 2 or 3 grand. But yeah, you go down to Lowe's and get all the wood and all that. And some other people, there's people online, you can Google them, and they'll pre-assemble it for you and all that, and that quickly adds up because it's labor intensive. It's not cheap, it's not light. And it takes up space, little things. That's why I'm just spoiled. It's like, I know it doesn't look very pretty to sit in a closet, but no, I don't remove the clothes at all. It's just like, no, the clothes help absorb the sound. If anything, removing the clothes would make it a little more echoey like this room. I could never record for a professional project in here. First of all, the mic's not good enough, and this is again, the acoustics is just not right for that sort of thing. Now, a lot of people may freak out at those prices. $1,100 mic, and my preamp is like $900, and it's like, okay, well, again, tax write-off. And are there cheaper mics that sound great and cheaper amps? Absolutely. A Scarlett makes great interfaces for as low as $100, maybe $80. You can get a good USB mic, Samson, Blue, Audio-Technica. Which one? Rode, R-O-D-E, Rode, yeah. Shure, S-H-U-R-E. Tons of companies. And the tech, again, better, faster, cheaper. But I went with Neumann because I was finally at a place where I could afford it. Just like I used to be PC only because PC's like twice the specs at half the price of Mac, but then I got to a point where I could afford a Mac and I love using Mac. But I also use Windows too. I have a Windows laptop. It's like, I'm equal opportunity. I'm an Apple iPhone guy, but Android's awesome. I love that. I don't want the rule. I don't want one company doing everything, you know. I like it all. Samsung makes great phones, great TVs. Sony makes great TVs, great gaming console. They do a lot of great stuff. So hopefully that answered your question. There are a lot of options out there. I mean, you can Google everything. Voice acting classes, a great site called I Want to Be a Voice Actor. I want to be a voiceactor.com. That's a great resource. And again, you know, USB mics, USB interfaces if you're using a regular mic. And you need it's called a preamp. It's amplification. You need that for the regular microphone. See this cable here? It's called XLR. The XLR cable would go into the interface, and then the interface has to have USB to go into your computer. So it's like this chain that the signal's all going through. And there's different types of mics. The mic I use is a condenser. And I forgot the reason, or even all the other kind. There's a cardioid mic. It's just the way that the sound travels through the mic. It's all different. But again, Google's your friend. You can find out all the reasons and things. And the good news is you may not necessarily sound better on a more expensive mic. So if you can, you like go to Guitar Center and say, hey, can I hear myself with some headphones and try out these mics? They should be able to let you sample it. You may find that, oh, my voice sounds too bassy on this, or it sounds too tinny on this one. But this $300 mic, man, dude, you know, that could happen. And then for portable stuff, I have an Apogee. It's just called Apogee mic. And it's like $350, but it's really good. Travel sized, and I can record straight into my iPhone or iPad. And I use an app called Twisted Wave. It's basically like Audacity, so I can edit the sound waveform on my phone and send it off to my agent or casting director or whoever. The Blue Yeti, heard nothing bad about those. Heard they sound really good. I've never had one, but I know a lot of people who use them and are very happy with them. Yeah, Blue Yeti, Blue Snowball. There's so many different options out there. Got a couple more minutes. We got a lightning round. Anybody other questions? Look at you and then you. I did, and I watched that, but I didn't see Aizen in it. I'm told he's in the arc, though. That is pretty cool. It's a catchy song. Oh yeah, I mean they officially announced it a long time ago, but they didn't announce when it would drop until that trailer today. So October of next year. Right. So it's like, are they going to do a dub? I don't know. I don't see why not. Bleach is insanely popular still to this day. So hopefully they'll call us back and we'll get to do that. Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, yeah. It'll get dubbed and hopefully it'll be on Toonami and reach an even wider audience. So we'll see. Yeah. Everything I've tried out for. Yeah, because I didn't get hired for most of them. That's just the way it works in voice acting. I did try out for Ichigo, but Johnny Young Bosch, man. I couldn't hold a candle to that guy. So I don't want to ever take away anything from what other people brought to those roles because they were gassed greatly. I mean, it works. I mean, there's shows I wish I could have been a part of, like Cowboy Bebop, but that was way before I was even a voice actor. But yeah, that's all I could think of at the time. It's that time, isn't it? Top of the hour. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoy that. Thank you. In T-minus 1 hour, I'm going to be in the autograph